This is my version of the challenge definition that I asked you guys to undertake. We started with a square grid, right? Yeah. So we made the square grid so it was adjustable from 1, all right, to 10. Now, you should have already immediately seen a problem with that, because when it went to 1, I'm assuming you all slid it, you didn't have one thing, did you? You had 2. You had 0 and 1. So that's one of the things that I want you guys to be aware of, that you could have kind of foreseen a problem. Okay, so after we did that, the next thing that we did is we originally fed these points into the circle, okay, for the plane of the circle. Now it's been changed since then, so it was feeding here and this was not feeding there. Okay, and then, well, I'm sorry, I'm still getting the random numbers, so undo that. I'll put it back the way it was. Okay, so then one of the first challenges that came up was for you guys to think critically about, how do I determine a radius, right, where the circles are going to touch each other on the edges? And the answer is actually very simple. You know the distance of the grid, and you know that a circle located at the intersection of the grid has to be half the distance of the grid. So we had to use some basic math, right? We took the spacing of the grid, which can be 10 or whatever, okay, and we divided it by 2. That gave us half the value. Now we took that and fed it into the radius, and now no matter what we do with this, the circles always touch. The next thing I did is I asked you guys to go back in time and pull out your random number generator. That's this thing right here. And it took me a second to find it, but I did. I went in there and opened up the circles. And that, I didn't change any of this, except I changed these 2 values. Because remember, I told you that the range of values that we were looking for was between 1 foot and 30 feet high. So that's what 1 foot and 30 feet is. Now, the random number generator, the way it was originally set up in the other one, had the number feeding in differently. So the number of values that we have here is 11 times 11 if these are all the way up. But no matter what, it's going to be 1 more than the quantity of X grids and the quantity of Y grids that we have. So in order to fix the total number, because there's a mismatch, right? If you put a panel and you don't do this thing down here, you'll find that you're getting 100 values, but you need 121 values. So a little bit of deduction came up with the notion that, all right, well, 11 times 11 is 121. So what's happening is it's not counting the 0. This has already happened to us before when we did the circles. Remember the random circles? And so this is nothing more than a 3-dimensional extrapolation of those circles. This time the circles aren't changing in radius, but the circles are changing in height per extrusion. So all I did was I took the number slider that's going to say the extent of y, and I took the number slider for the extent of x, and I added 1. Then I multiplied those 2 together, and I fed that into the total number of heights that I needed. That in turn fed into the z unit, which fed into extrude. One of the things that some of you probably forgot, right, was what happens if you don't flatten the tree. If you don't flatten the tree, it doesn't work sequentially. It doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and when it gets to the end of that list, it starts over. It goes to the next column and starts over. And so that would give you a bunch of different numbers, right, different heights, but each column, the whole column would be the same height. So we did that before when we did the radiuses. We had to flatten that tree, and then the number would just be sequential rather than list, or it would be a sequential list rather than list after list after list after list starting over. Okay? And that's pretty much it. With the exception of the extrude function, everything that you needed to do this we've already covered once. So part of what I will tell you about learning this program is that you're going to have to probably commit quite a bit of time, right, to practicing with it. Now, one of the things that I'm hoping to do with the program fairly soon is to start to generate patterns that you guys can then take onto your buildings to create, you know, like different size openings and different patterns of openings. Okay. So anyway, that was the random number generator for the number of circles going up.